Now, this time, I'd like to call upon Government Whip Speaker to the podium.
May I start? Mr. Speaker, we say that we are fighting a losing fight. We say that the game gets harder every year because we see an increase in new diseases, we see an increase in population, and we see a decrease in resources. So when the opposition asks us why we need to keep on pursuing science and why we need to prioritize science over social welfare, we say that is because the game is a tough one and we need to fix the rules in order to beat it. Now, we had a very clear clash on values. Human embetterment on the government side, social welfare on the opposition side. The question that we had to pose on the Deputy Prime Minister's speech, the question that actually never got answered was why we needed to prioritize social welfare. Because we are going to prove two things in my speech, Mr. and Madam Speaker, that first of all, when comparing the benefits and harms, scientific development must be prioritized. But not only that, that excessive social welfare, prioritizing social welfare is going to lead to more harms. Now, I'm going to do two things for you in this debate. The first is to identify the misconceptions that we find in this debate, and second, to move on to the three clashes. First, on the stakes of this debate. Second, on governmental role. And third, on the time frame. So without further ado, the biggest misconception that they made constantly, on almost K-shift, was the difference between aid, immediate relief, and minimal support and social welfare. Because they keep on bringing up the issue of imminence, Mr. Speaker. They bring us that it's a very serious issue. People are dying. We say that we do care, and we are going to make efforts to solve that. But that is not mutually exclusive, because we're saying that we don't need social welfare to give that kind of immediate relief. As quoting from the leader of opposition speech, social welfare will be helping the poor structurally and periodically. We say that kind of an excessive social welfare is only going to harm them even more, as I will elaborate later. But only the immediate relief that they will need is the ones that we are trying to, is the one that we need, or the opposition is rooting for. So we think this confusion is either moot, or they need to clarify to us why both sides matter, why immediate relief as well as social welfare matter. Now, the second misconception was on the redistribution issue, because they said that the issue was not scientific development, it was that there was enough food, but it wasn't getting distributed. First of all, putting more money into social welfare is not going to solve that issue either. It's a matter of redistribution and technologies and mechanisms for redistribution, systematic problems that make redistribution so difficult, not investing in social welfare. We say that this can actually improve with scientific development as well. So actually, this value or this burden falls on our side, not theirs. We also see another problem, because when we ask the reason why we have a surplus in food, it actually links back to GMOs. Farther back, it links to harvesters, it links to grain silos. The very reason why we have enough food to feed our people is because we have been pursuing scientific development throughout history. And we say that it is not hazy, as they say. It is very clear. Precedents show what we need to promote. Precedents show what we need to pursue. And that is why the misconceptions are clearly on our side. Without further ado, the first clash on stakes. What we had to risk here and what we had to gain. We say that science is our savior. We say that development is necessary when we are facing an issue of limited resources. Because, Madam and Mr. Speaker, we need to increase the size of the pie. When we have a booming population, and when we have, in a moment, ma'am, when we have a booming population and we have increasing and various diseases that are harder to cure, we need to keep on increasing our response to that as well, especially when resources are diminishing and we need newer and more efficient ways to tackle our environmental and resource issues. Yes, ma'am.
What is the government obliged to do to give a food voucher to a starving child or to create better iPods?
The government is obliged to do both. We move on. We move on to tell you that the stakes are higher, and the stakes seem to be high on the opposition side because they keep on bringing issues of survival. We say that survival is a big issue. Survival does need to be addressed and can be addressed on the government side without prioritizing social welfare. We want them to actually clarify their stance and prioritize because we've made it pretty clear. We're going to keep social welfare to minimal levels so we can make sure that these immediate aids and reliefs can be given, but we're going to invest more energy and more resources in scientific development. What is your stance? Because I don't understand the difference in your model between countries and developing countries in Africa and developed countries, welfare countries up in Northern Europe. Now, we say that this is why we clearly take this clash. Stakes are high. We say that we cannot make risks when investing in social welfare that is only playing around with digits and trying to give more money or invest more money to certain demographics when we can actually solve the issue altogether by increasing the pie and saying that scientific discoveries, as seen in precedents, are definitely going to help us and favor us. The second clash was on governmental role. We said the government was an equalizer. We said that it democratized states because the only reason why such conflicts exist as they do, Mr. Speaker, is because there are a limited amount of resources. The better way to solve this is to increase the resources or either to better distribute it. The example of Gutenberg and the printing press showed how mass distribution of information actually led to more people being liberated, no thank you ma'am, and more people being empowered. We say that redistribution again falls under this argument because government is the equalizer and democratizer. We can make better mechanisms of redistributing resources and we see improvements pending every year. We see that there are more effective ways to feed the people starving, as they say, and we say that technology is behind it. What did the opposition say? The opposition's response was social contract. First of all, we believe that there are different models in the social contract that exist. And we say that our model is better because even if they pursued whatever... No, thank you, ma'am. Even if they pursued... even if they assert that there is an obligation for the government to give social welfare, that is not exactly true. Social welfare in itself is not an obligation. We have an obligation to protect our citizens, and we're doing that pretty fine without social welfare. So therefore, what they're doing is only increasing dependence among the people with an excessive social welfare program. We already gave you examples of Scandinavian countries like Finland, where excessive social welfare, no thank you ma'am, led to a decrease in motivation for people to work harder, people thinking that the country is going to feed them, people growing lax. This is not what we need, this is not what we want, so therefore we take the second clash as well. We say the governmental role is very clear, it is what we suggested, it is what we defined. The third and final clash, Madam and Mr. Speakers, was on the time frame. Which side provided a sustainable change, which side actually tackled with the issues now? Now we say that both sides did a pretty good job when it comes to the present. We're both trying to feed the people who are starving, we're both trying to save people from dying. That's true, but which decision is going to help us 50 or 100 years later? We say that scientific development is the clear answer, not only because of the reasons we've mentioned above, but because culture is also closely linked with scientific development, as our third argument suggested. Now, the third argument was never responded to, but we can make it pretty clear. We think it's pretty clear from the opposition side that they think accessibility is a serious issue when it comes to scientific development or any types of culture. We say that accessibility also can be an issue solved with scientific development. More people can listen to music more freely. We say that culture is a thing that can be distributed more freely and more equally when scientific development occurs. So we take this clash as well because we were the ones promoting a sustainable change and we were the ones protecting our people in the future as well as the present. So Mr. Speaker and Madam Speaker, if you support a side that was for the embetterment of human race, a side that we're trying to protect more people and protect them better and protect them later as well as now, you stood with the government and we thank you. Thank you very much.
네, 이렇게 해서 찬성 측의 입장은 이제 세 명의 말을 다 들어봤습니다. 어떻게 보셨습니까?
예, 이 세 번째 연사는 일단은 저쪽 팀에서 한 것을 먼저 방어를
네.
했죠. 그러니까 저쪽에서는 시급한 지원을 복지로 오해하고 있다라는 점을 아주 강하게 잘 지적을 했습니다. 그리고 이 분배 문제라는 것도 복지 예산만 증대한다고 해서 해결되는 건 아니다라고
네.
해서 일단 자기 입지를 강하게 하면서 동시에 앞에 두 사람이 했던 거를 다시 한번 반복하면서 강화를 했죠. 정부가 과학 발전을 통해서 충분히 그 조율자 역할을 하면서 민주화가 통하고 또 지속 가능한 변화를 과학 발전을 통해서 꽤 할 수 있다라고 해서 찬성팀의 입장을 다시 한번 공고히 하는 그런 역할을 잘 수행해냈습니다.
네, 그럼 이제 또 반대 측의 의견 들어보겠습니다.
Ladies and gentlemen, today Team Proposition Side asked us, how can you save a person from cancer? The answer is that we don't know yet. The answer is that when we invest more in science, maybe millions, maybe billions, then maybe we can cure a person with cancer. What we asked Team Proposition Side is that considering the fact that the highest cause of death in Asia is not cancer, is diarrhea, when we ask them, how can you solve diarrhea? The problem and the solution is clear. The answer is clear. And that's why the government is obligated to do that and not obligated to find flashy and better cures for diseases that are unknown. This is the core difference between the two teams in this debate, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, and that is why Team Opposition Side has won this debate. I'm going to ask 3 questions in my speech. The 3 questions that this debate ultimately boils down to. The first question, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, was what saves more lives, science or welfare? The second question is what should the government be obliged to do? And the last question was what are the external social impacts of this motion? So the first question, what saves more lives? Today we saw Team Proposition Side, not yet, saying that medical cures for fundamental medical cures, not yet. Fundamental cures for diseases is why they save more lives, right? And they can save it fast. We think that first of all, Mr. Speaker, in the status quo, the better and the quickest way to save more lives is to create a better distribution of the resources that we currently have, instead of trying to find a much more efficient and faster way of curing these diseases. But secondly, we think that science, in fact, is not fast. It's a very long-term practice. It's uncertain. It's very risky. That's why scientific research funds are being decreased in many countries right now. So if the science research had such fast and immediate results, when the Obama administration increased science research back in the 2009, then we should have seen more people, more cures and more medicines for these diseases being developed. We didn't really see that scientific boom. We don't see the results are so immediate and fast as they try to disguise it. But third of all, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, we think that many of those diseases that they can't really find the cure to right now, many of them come from the fact that we don't have a good welfare system. Like we don't have a clean water system. Like we don't have food and nutrition right now. We think that solving a better welfare system is one of the core reasons how we can fundamentally change these diseases that they so want to change as well. But the fourth reputation towards this, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is that we also are going to prioritize welfare over science research. We're not abandoning science research. It's a problem of prioritizing. We say that we cannot afford to lose on welfare right now, but we can afford to lose on science technology right now because we're in a technology boom. We don't really have to increase that compared to welfare. So the second issue under this clash was the difference between what you need and what you want, right? Today they said that basically science is what you need and welfare is not necessarily about what you need. But what does a hungry child need? A food voucher or better GMO technology or, information about the stars on NASA? We think that sometimes science might give people what they need. Sometimes when science is fully focused on very specific projects like the creation of, a penicillin or those treatments. But we think that in the status quo, in many cases, science technology is extremely diverse. It's not really dedicated and, dedicated towards what people need, but what we want instead. For example, we want a better audio system on our headphones. We want an airplane that flies more smoothly. We want to know the 587th star. This is things that we want, not necessarily that we need. We think that's a fundamental difference between welfare and science. We think welfare is much more focused on what we really need in the status quo, because people are starving right now. So that's why we prove that science, not science, but welfare saves more lives. But before I go on, yes, sir?
We told you from the very beginning of our case how science addresses both need and want, how we address both quantities and quality. Do you address want in any way?
We think that science addresses needs and wants, but in the status quo, science is not fully focused towards what we need, but the vast majority of it is focused on what we want. We think that medical research consists of lower than 30% in the United States, which is a country that is quite devoted into medical research. We think military research, like more weapons, like more faster weapons and faster killing weapons, that also composes more than 30% in the United States. We don't think it's really focused on what we really need, Mr. Speaker. Going on to the second clash of this this debate. What should the government be obliged to do? We think that the fundamental difference between the two teams is that the government is not obliged to extend our lives by finding a cure for unknown diseases, but the government is obliged to protect its people from starving from death when it's because of a lack of money because they're unemployed, or when it's because it's from a disease that the government can cure with a better healthcare system, with the simple medicines. We think that's what the government is obliged to do, and that's something that Team Proposition side simply brushed over. We think the spirit of this debate is to see what the government should prioritize its money on. They simply brushed off that spirit of the debate. And then we talked about why it's especially crucial to fund welfare over science research right now, because the inequality gap between the rich and the poor is horrendous. It's ridiculous, Mr. Speaker. We think that the government needs to at least strategically focus on the poor people in order to decrease that gap. That's not being done through science research, in which much of that research is targeted towards those which have a higher income, Mr. Speaker. And they completely dropped this argument, which was our entire third argument. Going on to the third clash of this debate, it's about the external social impacts of this motion. Now, today, Team Proposition side came up here with this very strange argument that if you increase technology, then suddenly it will become good democracies, right? And they gave us examples of printing and SNS. I think it's quite strange that China was a leading country in developing printing industry, but it's great democracy right now. We think that there's no linkage between the increase of technology only and democratization. We think that democratization comes with a system in which people do have the resources, do have the capacity to actually use SNS, to actually use these so much technological devices that they're talking about, Mr. Speaker. We think that just throwing these technologies to the poor people does not create a democracy. A dying person, because he's starving, does not suddenly log into Facebook and create a democracy. We think that's the fundamental difference between the two teams. No, thank you, sir. We think that another refutation towards this is, why can't these industries like printing and SNS be funded privately, be funded through other sources? We think, why does the government have to do this when there's so much more incentives for other companies and other private investors to do that? And we think that is the status quo. That science research does have a lot of private funding, while welfare doesn't. The majority of the welfare is funded by the government, and only charity organizations which don't have that much power is funding these places. We think that's not enough. We think that we cannot lose on that, and we've also proven to you that education, one important part of welfare, is another more crucial way to increase democracy. Creating a stronger middle class, which can be done through welfare, is the better way to create democracy. And then they're arguing about culture, right? About how you have to have more self-expression and philosophy, and that can be done through science. First of all, this motion is not about whether we should abandon science or not, Ms. Speaker. It's about what we should prioritize. We think that we are in the state of a technology boom. We do have that self-expression philosophy that they've talked about, but compared to that, the welfare system is completely lagging compared to those technological booms. We see that United States is completely developed in technology compared to other states, but in the cases of healthcare, they provide the lowest rate of healthcare, one of the lowest rate of healthcare in the OECD countries. So, Mr. Speaker, because the motion of today is not whether we should abandon science, is not whether science does more harm than good, but it's whether we should prioritize science over saving lives and saving welfare, I'm extremely proud to oppose, and the motion falls. Thank you very much.
네, 이렇게 해서 양측의 의견 들어봤는데요. 어떠셨어요?
이 반대팀의 세 번째 연사는
네.
양 팀의 그 차이점에 이제 집중을 해서 잘 그 전개를 했는데요. 일단 반대팀은 시급성에 그 초점을 맞추고 있습니다. 그래서 빈부격차가 심한데 이거는 해결해야 되는 건 정부의 책임이다. 그렇기 때문에 과학 발전이라는 것은 민간 부문에서도 할 수 있는 것 아니냐라고 해서 시정일관 아주 일관성 있게 시급성에 초점을 맞춰서 복지 쪽에 더 우선을 해야 한다라고 주장을 하고 있는데요.
네.
예, 일관성은 그 아주 높이 평가할 만합니다만은 시급성 하나에만 너무 지금 국한되어 있다는 게 단점으로 잡히지 않을까 생각이 됩니다.
네, 이렇게 총 6명을 저희가 8분씩 들어봤죠. 이제 다시 한번 한 명씩 나와서 얘기를 하게 되죠.
Objective view at what each side promoted in today's debate. Let's first take the fundamental premises in both sides today is that we're not abandoning the other side's approach. The opposition is not abandoning scientific research, like the proposition promises not to abandon the social welfare. With that objective and very agreed upon point of view, I'd like to clarify the models of each side. The proposition say argued the majority of their fund will be moved into scientific researches because if you wait for a couple years under their model, the citizens will be able to get greater benefits. The opposition said the majority of the money should go for social welfare because scientific researchers take a very long, because we can wait for scientific innovations to happen and make better iPods, but we cannot wait for people to have food because if they don't have food this month, this year, they're not going to be there to enjoy the iPod next year at all. Now, there are three very clear reasons why the opposition won today's case under the objective models that I have represented to you right now. 1, opposition benefits the people. 2, opposition fulfills the government's burden. And 3, the opposition brings immediate and guaranteed benefits. Now let's move on to the first reason why we won. It benefits people. The proposition today was arguing that the people should wait for a few more years until they get the full benefit that the government can offer them. And they said that to the marginalized people. We offered 4 reputations to that. 1, it's not just a couple of years they're going to have to wait. Look at the examples that the proposition provided to you. They gave you examples of enlightenment. Enlightenment that had to take 200 years before it developed into democracy. The people cannot wait 200 years for the scientific researchers to bring some kind of benefit to the people. They need immediate action. We also say that their model doesn't work because all they gave you were examples of privileges. For example, the blue paint. People don't need to paint Mona Lisa when they need food right now. When they don't have a job right now, they can't be sitting there admiring the blue paint that the scientific research brought them. We need better model than theirs. Third reason why their logic doesn't work is because their ideas in short term were gave limited benefits to only a certain group of people, like the elite people who are already working in research labs. And fourth, because we provided the better model in our systematic help to people, like the education, which will embody the long-term benefit along with the food vouchers and the immediate help that we offered. That's why we take the first reason. To the second reason, government's burden. Today, the proposition quoted to our POI, government is obliged to give both food vouchers and advanced iPods to their people. I think this is just a ludicrous lie. They're neglecting their own limited resources. They talk as if scientific researchers will suddenly bring them trillions of dollars, allowing them to spend endlessly in both of their objectives. But we say that is not true. Scientific researchers are proven to take long times. The space exploration they mentioned in the very beginning of their speeches show that scientific researchers do not bring immediate benefits, do not bring endless resources they can spend. And they have also never explained to us how after getting these resources, even if it takes long time, they will have a better model of distributing these resources, which is the fundamental problem we face in today's society. So they did not solve the problem, they just delayed solving the problem to perhaps 200 years ago. Now to the third reason why we won, immediacy and guarantee. The proposition was investing in unclear places. iPods do not necessarily bring democracy, like the typewriters didn't necessarily bring democracy in China, but we give them food, we give them what they need. And for these very clear 3 reasons, the opposition won today's case. Thank you.
네, 이렇게 해서 이번에는 4분 동안의 의견을 들어봤는데요. 반대쪽이 이제 먼저 했죠, 이번에는요?
이 마무리 발언은 반대팀이
네.
먼저 발언을 하는데요. 지금 앞에 3명이 이야기했던 걸 요약했다고 보시면 되는 거죠.
Now I would like to call
그래서
upon the last
일반
speaker,
국민들을
last
위해서
group
정부가
on
책임지고
the
즉각적인
proposition.
혜택을 줘야 되기 때문에
네.
복지를 더 우선해야 한다는 그 반대팀의 입장을 다시 한번 강조를 했습니다.
네, 그럼 이제 찬성팀의 마무리 발언을 들어보겠습니다.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot of things I want to say in my speech, so I'll move right on to the develops. First of all, we want, as the government replied, we want to say that we won this debate on the grounds of both premise, principle, and practicality. First for premise, because we were the team that understood the status quo of this debate, ladies and gentlemen. All three of our speakers have stood up and clearly explained to you that the status quo was that there was an exponential increase of population when there was an absolute decreasing of resources. And since they didn't really have much to rebut on that, we're seeing that they conceded to our plan. So we see that under this sort of status quo, we don't just need immediate help and immediate solution, we also need a long-term solution as well. And while team opposition is advocating that we continuously dole out money over and over again every time these people need so, team proposition doesn't think that that is an effective policy. We want to have long-term solutions by prioritizing science, maximizing solutions, and saving the people that are actually in need. And also, we think that opposition was a team full of mischaracterization. They mischaracterized, first of all, the nature of science itself, because they saw science as, just iPods and Facebooks. That's not true, ladies and gentlemen. The help that they want to provide, the food that they want to give to those people, the medicine that they want to distribute all over Africa, that was all here because of science, ladies and gentlemen. Science isn't just fancy apps. It's also about curing diseases and solving the fundamental problems that these people are in. But also they mischaracterize the nature of this debate itself. Because she asked us why we want to use government money to make Facebook's apps, but that's not really what the debate is about. What the debate is about is which side should we prioritize. And we say that we prioritize science because we want to maximize the benefits and because the value of science supersedes the value of social welfare. Because without a practical framework, there cannot be any moral solutions either. And also on the point of premise, to this moment, they still haven't clarified what exactly they mean by social welfare, ladies and gentlemen. And why is this so bad? Well, first of all, because they haven't really explained, rebutted to our point how excessive social welfare is harmful, they haven't responded to this point at all. We told you that we don't want to prioritize social welfare because having excessive social welfare will show systems such as Finland and other Scandinavian countries where people are okay with being unemployed and they don't want to make more advancements, ladies and gentlemen. And secondly, it was harmful that they did not clarify because if this is about immediate relief and immediate aid, it's not mutually exclusive. We could provide that as well, and they haven't addressed that to this point. The only thing they talked about during the entire debate was having better distribution methods. But we told you again and again, we don't need an exorbitant amount of money. We don't need to prioritize social welfare over scientific revolutions in order to have better distribution mechanism. So what we could only see was that they only wanted to dole out money endlessly for social welfare when they could actually be attacking the fundamental solutions to debate. Secondly, about principle, the leader of opposition came up and accused us of not having principle, and she worried for human lives. Again, we found that offensive. She didn't listen to us. What we want was a betterment of human lives. We don't want only more people to live. We want them to live better. She said culture was a luxury, but it didn't have to be under our side. We think that our side encompasses both need and want, while they only tried to attack need and they didn't really do a very good job either because they have limited resources. Which brings me on to the last point of practicality. Why we have to prioritize science over social welfare. Because we think that the medicine that they want to hand out, and we think that the trucks and the airplanes that are going to deliver those medicines, those are all developed by science. And although they say that they are perfectly fine with the status quo, those are what people before Gutenberg's era thought before they had the printing press. And after they had it, they realized the status quo really wasn't fine, that it could be removed, and it could have been better. And that's what team proposition is saying. We could have better medicine, we could have better social welfare if you support science and you prioritize over social welfare. And because we want to find the fundamental solutions, and because we're rooting for the betterment of not only more human lives, but better human lives, team proposition is very proud to propose. Thank you.
네, 찬성팀의 마무리 발언이었습니다. 어떻게 보셨습니까?
예. 찬성팀에서는 사실 처음에는 그 첫 번째 연사가 정의를 할 때 구체적으로 하진 않았습니다만은 논의가 전개되면서 좀 명확해진 게 국민 생활 향상을 위한 해결책을 과학을 통해서 얻을 수 있다 하는 그 가치관을 근거로 한 것이었다는 것이거든요. 그게
네.
좀 여기서 아주 부각이 된 것이 강점이었다고 생각을 하고요. 복지를 차선으로
So now
두는 것이
judges
완전히
are,
배제하는 것은 아니다.
deciding now,
그래서
so
문화까지
that until then,
우리가 다
debaters
커버하는
will
것이다라는
step down on
그런
the floor and, go
논리
back to
전개가
seat,
참
please.
좋았다고 생각을 합니다.
네, 이렇게 해서 토론은 다 들어봤습니다. 다시 한번 주제에 대해서 말씀드리자면 예산을 책정한 데 있어서 과학에 사회복지보다 더 많이 투자를 해야 하느냐 마느냐에 대해서 지금 양 팀이 치열한 토론을 벌였습니다. 그래서 이제 찬성하는 팀에서는 장기적인 측면에서 과학에 더 투자를 해야 한다. 그것이 또 예산 복지를 위해서 도움이 된다라는 의견을 받고요. 또 반대 쪽에서는 시급한 것을 해결해야 한다라는 주장을 폈는데요. 이제는 이제 심사에 들어가지 않습니까? 그 심사위원들이 가장 중요하게 보는 점은 어떤 점인가요?
예, 그 심판들이 크게 세 가지 기준을 가지고 평가를 합니다.
네.
첫 번째 기준이 이제 스타일이라고 할 수가 있는데요. 그 스타일은 그 예를 들어서 그 유머 감각도 있었나 이런 것도 보고요. 또
네.
어투라든지 이런 것도 보고 적절하고 자연스러운 몸 동작이라든지 자세가 있었나. 그다음 노트 사용은 어떻게 했나.
네.
발언이 뭐 진실성 있게 신뢰성 있게 보였나 이런 것도 보고요. 이게 이제 40%를 차지합니다.
40%면
그리고
굉장히 비중이 크네요.
예, 비중이 큽니다. 그리고 나머지 40%가 이제 내용을 보는데요. 이 주제의 쟁점을 제대로 파악을 했는가,
네.
그리고 그 중요한 점들을 우선순위를 제대로 두어서 전달을 했는가, 그리고 설득력이 있었는가,
네.
그리고 여기에 보면은 상대방의 공격에 효과적으로 반박을 했는가, 그리고 아까 그 발표할 때 상대방이 질문이 왔지 않습니까?
네.
그런 거를 잘 받아쳤는가, 이런
그거에
거를
대해서 좀 질문 드리고 싶은데요.
예.
의회식 토론 방식에 대해서 좀 익숙하신 분들은 굉장히 재밌게 보셨을 텐데 안 그러신 분들은 저게 뭐지? 왜 연사가 얘기를
예.
하는데 왜 갑자기 일어나지? 이렇게 의아해하셨을 것 같아요.
예, 예.
그게
이게 이제
설명해
준비
주시죠.
토론이다 그러면 사전에 다 준비해가지고 와서 그냥 자기 각본대로 하나 보다라고 생각하실지 모르겠는데요. 의회식 토론에서는 상대방이 연설을 하는 동안 그 반대팀에서 질문을 할 수가 있습니다.
네.
그러니까 일종의 공격인 거죠. 그래서 그 공격을 받고 안 받고는 사실 연설하는 사람이 결정을 하게 됩니다.
그래서 중간에 뭐 받거나
예.
안 받거나
예,
그렇게
예.
달라졌군요.
예.
네.
그런데 이제 이거를 너무 안 해도 이 반대팀이 좀 감정을 받고요.
네.
너무 많이 해서 이 의사 진행을 또 방해할 정도면 또 그 감정을 받습니다. 근데 이제 계속 질문을 하는데 받지 않으면 그 연설자도 감점을 당합니다. 그래서
네.
한 2회 정도 이걸 받는 거가 유리하고요. 이쪽 그 반대팀에서도 1인당 한 2개 정도의 질문을 하는 게
네.
유리합니다. 그런 그 의사 진행 그 특징이 있고요. 이 내용 평가에서 이제 그 중점 쟁점을 잘 봤나 이걸 보고 나머지 20%가 남았는데요.
네.
그 20%는 전략이라고 해서 이 쟁점을 전달하는데 유기적으로 논리적으로 했는가 하는 거를 보게 되는 거죠. 그래서
네.
뭐 스타일도 중요하긴 한데 사실 내용하고 전략을 합치면 60%그 부분이 이제 훨씬 크다라고 할 수 있죠.
네, 이게 쭉 보셨는데요. 그 양 팀을 보셨을 때 좀 총평을 좀 해주시겠어요?
앵커님도 보셨지만
네.
양 팀이 아주 막상막합니다. 그 찬성팀 같은 경우는 그 국민 생활 향상을 위한 해결책이 과학 발전이므로 그 부분에 우선을 해야 한다라는 가치관을 놓고 논지를 펼쳤는데요. 그래서 과학 발전 발견이 우리 인류에 어떤 혜택을 가지고 오고 또 그것이 더 확대돼서 뭐 문화 발전, 그다음에 패러다임 변화, 그래서 개인의 어떤 정체성 발전으로까지 영향을 줄 수 있다라고 논리적으로 잘 전개를 했습니다. 근데 이제 좀 구체적인 그 우선의 근거라 그럴까요? 그 부분이 이제 조금 약했던 것으로 보이고요.
네.
그에 반해서 이 반대팀에서는 그 사실 찬성팀의 그런 약점을 잘 잡았다라고 생각을 합니다. 그래서 우선 한다는 기준이 뭐냐라고 반박을 하고 난 다음에
네.
우리 팀에서는 그 우선의 기준을 분배와 단기간에 구체적인 결과를 볼 수 있어야 한다는 거를 근거로 하겠다라고 제시를 하고 논지를 펼쳤는데요. 근데 반대팀 같은 경우는 시급한 빈곤층 문제 해결, 그다음에 빈부격차 문제 해결, 이게 이제 정부의 책임이라는 거에 초점을 맞춰서
네.
논지를 쭉 펼쳤는데 제가 보기에는 시급성,
네.
그러니까 그 시급한 빈곤 문제 해결에만 너무 초점을 맞추지 않았나. 그러니까 과학 발전을, 그러니까 찬성팀 같은 경우는 물론 과학 발전에 우리가 투자를 해야 되지만 그렇다고
네.
해서 우리가 뭐 이 예산 복지 예산을 완전히 배제한다든지 무시하는 건 아니다라는 이야기를 좀 보강을 하면서 갔는데
네.
반대팀에서는 그게 조금 약하지 않았나 저는 그렇게 보아집니다. 근데 지금
그렇군요.
이게 9명의 심판이
네.
심판을 하세요. 그래서 결과가 어떻게 나올지 저도 잘
네.
모르겠습니다.
그렇군요. 뭐 제가 볼 때는 양 팀 다 너무 잘한 것 같아서요. 지금 심사위원들 9명이 지금 이제 심사를 막 하고 있잖아요.
예,
굉장히
예.
어려운 결정이 될 것 같아요.
예.
빨리 그 결정이 나오는 대로 저희가 전해드리도록 하겠습니다. 네, 교수님께서 이제 어떤 부분에 있어서 심사를 하느냐에 대해서 이제 말씀을 해주셨는데요. 그 중에 스타일이 차지하는 부분이 굉장히 크다고 얘기를 하셨는데 저는 보면서 굉장히 좀 눈에 갔던 것이 그 학생들이 굉장히 제스처도 활용을 많이 하는 것 같더라고요.
예, 예,
그래서
예.
제스처를 또 크게 하고 이러면서 또 설득력을 더 높이는 것 같다
예,
이런 생각이
맞습니다.
들었는데요. 어떻게
그
보셨어요?
스타일의 이제 평가 세부 항목을 보면은요,
네.
이게 이제 뭐 심판들이 참조하도록 그 규정이 나와 있는데 적당한 그 몸 동작, 자세 이런 게 들어 있어요. 그리고 또 그 청중과의 교감을 위해서 눈 맞추기 이런 것도 들어가 있거든요.
네.
그래서 사실 그런 거가 바디 랭귀지가 갖는 힘이 대단하지 않습니까?
그쵸.
그래서 그런 걸 잘 활용해야 되고요. 노트를 아까 보셨지만 이게 준비 토론이기 때문에 학생들이
네.
배경 자료 준비해온 거를 다 가지고 올 수 있어요. 근데
그
이제
노트에 대해서도 좀 궁금한 게요. 어떤 학생들 같은 경우는 좀 원고를 들고서 보는 경우도 있었거든요. 그런 게 괜찮은 건가요?
예, 사실 노트 활용도
네.
잘해야 전략적으로 잘해야 되는데요. 근본적으로 노트 활용은 가능하나 낭독은 금한다라고 돼 있어요.
네.
그래서 처음부터 끝까지 준비된 자료를 너무 그냥 보고 읽으면 심판들에게 좋은 인상은 주지 못하겠죠.
네,
네.
그렇군요. 뭐 보니까 톤 자체에서도 굉장히 설득력이 느껴졌거든요. 그래서 굉장히 잘한다 이런 생각이 드는데 교수님께서는 또 2회, 3회 심사위원장으로 참여를 하셨는데요. 쭉 이 토론회가 이제 진행이 되는 걸 보실 텐데 어떠세요? 그
네.
1회 때와 또 비교를 했을 때.
사실 제가 2회, 3회 이제 심사위원장으로 또 집행위원회장으로 그 대회에 참여를 했었었고요. 근데 올해는 제가 이제 심판 연수만 맡고 있었습니다만은 1회 때부터 제가 쭉 봐왔습니다만 학생들 실력이 해가 거듭할수록 제가 깜짝 놀랄 정도로 향상되는 게 보여요.
네.
그래서 그게 큰 자부심이기도 하고요. 우리 대회가 있음으로 해서 물론 뭐 과거에도 실력 있는 학생들은 있었겠지만
네.
그런 학생들이 자기 실력을 마음껏 자랑할 수 있는 그런 장이 또 마련이 되는 거고 그런 학생들에게 자극을 받아서 또 그런 같은 능력을 나도 같이 좀 향상시켜 보고 싶다는 그런 동기부여를 해줄 수 있는 장이 되기 때문에
네.
굉장한 자부심을
근데 또
느낄 수 있습니다.
한편으로는요, 너무 잘하니까요. 그러니까 소위 국내파라고 그러죠. 해외 경험이 없는 학생들은 나는 좀 발음이 좀 안 좋은데 저렇게 나가도 될까? 약간 위축이 될 수도 있을 것 같거든요.
예.
어떻게 보세요?
아까 제가 그 스타일
네.
평가 기준에 스타일 항목이 있다라고 말씀드렸는데요. 사실 이제 뭐 스타일보다는 내용이나 전략 부분이 합하면 더 큽니다만은 그 스타일에 보면은 그 억양이 원어민이 아니라고 해서 감점을 하면 안 된다라는 그런 규정이 들어가
그렇습니까?
있어요.
규정이 있군요.
예, 그
네네.
규정이 있습니다. 그래서 지금 뭐 세계 그 학생 토론 대회도 가보면 영어권 국가만이 아니라 비영어권 국가 학생들도 많이 참여를 하거든요. 그렇다면은
네.
그 국가 특유의 억양이 들어갈 수밖에 없고 그걸로 뭐 감점을 당한다든지 불이익을 당할 이유는 전혀 없습니다. 그래서
그렇군요.
나는 국내에서만 영어를 했는데라고 그게 뭐 감점이 되지 않을까 걱정하실지 모르지만 그건 아닙니다.
네, 그렇군요. 누가 이제 우승자가 될지 이제 결론이 난 것 같은데 한번 현장으로 가보도록 하겠습니다.
Of the fourth YTN Hoops Youth English Debating Championship is, maybe drum roll is needed, maybe. On a 2-7 decision, YOY finale on opposition won the grand finals.
네, 지금 이제 우승팀이 발표가 됐습니다. 이 피날레 팀이 7대2로 우승을 한 거군요. 그러니까 심사위원 9명 중에서 7명의 표를 얻어서 4회 고등학교 영어 토론대회 결승팀은 청신국제고등학교 팀인 요이 피날레 팀이 차지를 하게 됐습니다. 즉 그 반대하는 쪽이었죠? 찬성하는 팀이었습니다. 네.
네, 반대팀이
네, 반대하는 팀이 우승을
맞습니다.
하게 됐습니다. 네, 이렇게 해서 4회 고등학교 영어 토론 대회 우승팀은 요이 피날레 팀이 차지를 했습니다. 관심 가져주신 여러분들 감사드립니다.